All right, my guest today is Jeff Mcgraney. I met Jeff a few years ago when we worked with each other. We became fast friends and would nerd out every chance we got. Jeff is one of the few that knows, well, and I can't read very well, so we're going to start that part over. My guest today is Jeff Mcgraney. I met Jeff a few years ago when we worked with each other. We became fast friends and would nerd out every chance that we got. Jeff is one of the few that knew more than the movies, and I still can't say that sentence. All right, let's try take 3. My guest today is Jeff Mcgraney. I met Jeff a few years ago when we worked with each other. We became fast friends and would nerd out every chance that we got. Jeff is one of the few that knew more than the movies and could go deep into comic talk. There it is, Jeff. Take 3 is the winner. There were some big trailers and releases that just came out I wanted to discuss. And then I also want to pose one simple question to Jeff. Can you name the perfect movie? So we'll get into all that here very, very shortly. So first, we have a very important question to make or to talk about. Are we going to make this a kid-friendly episode, Jeff?
It's up to you. I totally leave it up to you.
Okay, so I usually try to shoot for PG-13 because every time I get in the car, my 9-year-old is like, Daddy, we got to listen to the Fandemic. And usually she wants to listen to her episode. I don't know where she would get that from, but you know.
The one with Brian Dennis. I already listened to that one a little bit since you mentioned that he was on the show.
Yeah.
And that was very enjoyable. And and the part with her in it, that's probably what she's referring to.
Oh my gosh, that kid, she's not home right now, or I guarantee she would be sneaking in on me and making a cameo. She pretty much took over Anna, my one who just turned 12 this last week. Her birthday episode. They kind of wanted to come in, and they didn't really want to leave. And Anna, so I was like giving Anna the little eyeball. I'm like, "Do you want them to go?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay." So, but yeah, she likes to be on the show, which is pretty awesome in itself. Yes. So yes, the Brian, that is going to be we're actually going to be starting a new podcast together.
All about Batman.
Not just
all Batman. Things Batman.
It should be. And we should be doing a retrospective of Batman the animated series. Start at episode 1 and move all the way through. Because honestly, that sounds like a really good idea anyway. Oh yeah, that was one of my favorite episodes that I've done was with Brian. So anyway, moving forward here, the first segment we're going to get into is called Catch Up on Everything. This is where myself and my guest, you guessed it, catch up on everything. Jeff, would you like to tell the Fandemic a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I could. I'm born in central Iowa, but grew up in Davenport, so that's still where I happen to have a lot of familiarity with, but moved to central Iowa with Iowa State and chilled out there. The cool thing about going to Iowa State was I got the opportunity to meet lots of friends who were nerds. That was really wonderful. Like a lot of people went through that thing of not being able to fit in too well in high school, but getting to college, found my peeps. They are still some of my best friends. One of them lives a whole 5 minutes away from me. So it's like we were roommates back in the day, and we're close to each other again right now. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they kind of got beat yesterday.
Hey, look, man, I'm not a sports person, or I'm not a sports ball person.
Me neither.
So, I mean, what can I say?
Right. Everybody wins.
My kid is all of 1 year old, 1 years old, whatever you want to put it, and he has more Iowa State gear than I do.
Yeah,
I never got an Iowa State shirt until maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I figured I'd give him plenty of money.
Yeah. More stuff to spend on your kid. That's right. How's the wife?
Wife or life?
Both. Is it the same thing? Wife and life?
Yeah, I mean, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, that's what they say anyway.
Yeah, both are going pretty well right now.
Oh, well, wait. Okay, so I lied. Apparently, they got home. Hi, that's Jeff. And this is we just got 2 kittens.
This one's name is Honey.
Named what? Honey?
No, it's not Dana, Daddy.
So there's a little controversy. Okay, thank you for that, Lev. there's a little controversy in our house. Okay, so we got 2 kittens about 2 weeks ago, and this one here. No, be careful, be careful. I don't just stop recording. That one is. I named her Xana after
Her name was Honey first.
After Darth Xana, which was the apprentice of Darth Bane, and her sister is Treya, which was from Knights of the Old Republic, right?
I think Honey in Mocha is cuter because Mocha is kind of bitter. So, and Mocha is bitter. Honey is sweet, and Honey is sweet.
So the names that everybody else has given them is Mocha and Honey. I on being that they're your Star Wars names, which so is yours, by the way, Leia. I have the case that they should be Star Wars names.
I like to stick with the food names.
Oh, so you can eat them because you know what? I bet that cat would be good fried.
Mhm,
No!
All right, kiddo.
There are places in the world where there's a saying. I can't remember how the saying goes exactly, but you have a good friend in Spain. There's like you have a good friend when they actually give you rabbits and not cat.
Really?
Yeah. After the Civil War, their Civil War in the 1930s and 40s, they didn't have a whole lot of food going around, so a lot of the rabbits were hunted down, and the rabbit population was kind of thin. So people turned to substituting cats for their rabbit recipes. So it's a good friend when they give you rabbit instead of cat.
My dad used to raise rabbits when I was a kid. Leia, can you remove the cat from my back? Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, kid, say bye to Jeff.
Wait. So we went to this fair thing.
Oh, okay.
And
We're getting the story.
And I got a smoothie, a banana strawberry smoothie.
Okay, so she got a nana strawberry smoothie. What's a smoothie? Smoothie. Okay.
Smooth.
I guess so.
Moo.
All right.
And then the other thing, my 3 cake pops. I got 3 cake.
You got 3 cake pops, okay, and a dancing kitten.
Tiny little things.
Right.
I'm gonna come down here with the other one in 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. So I guess you're gonna get to meet the other cat too. All right.
Oh, cool.
All right. Well, let us get going then, okay?
Okay, just give my cutie a kissy.
Okay. All right. Hi, Xana. Bye, Xana. I am not making out with you, Xana.
No, I'm just trying
To follow up on one of the things you mentioned when you asked me a little bit about myself, I will say that when it comes to nerdom, I don't know books very much.
Yes.
Usually when it comes to my knowledge of anything sci-fi, nerdy type stuff, I haven't gotten into books or comic books, unfortunately, very much. That's where, movies I'm up on, TV shows I'm usually up on, but not books or comics very much.
Oh my gosh. Apparently she's back. Okay. So this is Treya.
No, Mocha.
I like Treya because I get 3 colors.
Right.
A little bit of try.
Right. And so Treya rhymes with Leia and Xana rhymes with Anna. And guess what two of my kids' names are?
Anna and Leia.
All right,
That's
kids.
a tough one.
All right, I want to get going on my podcast. All right.
My wife has a coworker,
Okay,
and
now let's go on
just today
podcast.
before this, she was saying how one of her coworker has a kid. They had the middle name Leia because of Star Wars.
Awesome.
And I asked, if we go for another kid, do I get Tiberius?
That would be awesome.
No,
that would be cool.
I was vetoed.
Oh, I hate. I really want to get to the future birthplace of James T. Kirk, Riverside.
When I went there, so both my wife and I were about 5 years ago. It was before we moved out of Iowa. No, I guess it would have been longer then. And so anytime I tell people, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, I went to Riverside. And across the board, for most people I was working with at the time, anyhow, it was, so did you win any money? I'm like, win money?
The future birthplace of James T. Kirk.
What? Oh, that's what I learned. There's a casino there. I did not know that the entire time I was there. I would recommend just go there. You should go there during Trek Fest because it's the only Trek Fest. I don't know what time of the year I don't remember what time of the year they do it. I want to say it's sometime in the summer. And what's awesome about it is it's one of the, where else can you go but Iowa to see a tractor pulling a float of a Klingon warbird? Bird of player, sorry. You
I don't
can't.
know, but that's awesome. That's pretty darn awesome, man. I'm going to Google this probably right after this conversation, and if I forget, I will have a reminder when I edit the episode, and then I'll have another reminder when I listen to the episode. So this is gonna happen. I'm definitely gonna go.
It's worth it. Definitely worth it.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. So what's better, Star Wars or Star Trek?
You know, man. It's fun. But since we're recording, I like Star Trek more. When I was a kid, I thought they were both equal. Really loved them. Like any kid, I loved the Star Wars toys. Watched the movies whenever I could. And for anyone who's younger, then when I say the movies, I mean, and I always have Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Nothing else. All the rest of it came out when I was an adult, and that's when I started losing a little bit of respect.
Yes. Oh man. I will say Star Trek has done amazing things. I love the new series.
Yeah.
Man. I will say Picard was a little slow.
I mean, it's Picard.
Right. But again,
he's the talkie captain.
Right. But all the character like Star Trek has this way of introducing characters that you instantly fall in love with. I mean, Star Wars could not do that with Rey and Finn and I mean, Oscar Isaac's character. He is so memorable. I can't even remember his name. That's right, Poe Dameron, and I can even go deeper than that.
I even got that one.
Yes, he was raised next to a Force-sensitive tree. That there was only 2 left. That Luke Skywalker actually smuggled out of a Palpatine's layer on Naboo.
Now you see, this is exactly where and why that when it comes to comparing Star Wars and Star Trek, and that's why I had to say that I have not read any books, because across the board, when it comes to Star Wars, people say, "Oh, but the books are blah blah blah."
Right.
Yeah. Well, Disney kind of f that and toss that out the window.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I take them on the media, the form, the presentation that they come in as on their own merits, not extra stuff.
Right.
In my opinion, if you have to appreciate the movie by outside material, then the movie itself isn't doing a good enough job.
You are absolutely correct.
A good example of where you could have extra and add more to it instead of making it necessary for the plot point would be just recently. I had never gotten around to watching it, but finally got Disney Plus and watched Jack Attack.
Jack Attack.
I think that's what it's called. So you have The Incredibles and then a separate short.
Okay.
That was all about the time period when Kari was watching Jack because they're off because in The Incredibles you just hear these phone messages, and it got more erratic. And so they created the whole short off to the side. That just added to it. It wasn't necessary for the point of the movie.
Right.
But then you get most of the Star Trek stuff or Star Wars stuff, and if you had to read the book, to like, no, that's why these last 6 movies have sucked so badly.
Right. Empire Strikes Back, and later on we're going to talk about perfect movies, and I would actually put Empire Strikes Back as a perfect movie.
Yeah,
there's very few. I mean, I have two that I can come up with that I thought long and hard about perfect movies. Princess Bride.
That's a pretty good one too.
But other than that, I mean, there's always something there. I mean, and even if you look too deep at Empire Strikes Back, well, okay, well, you did have incest in the movie. I mean, but it was incest that was later. I mean, like, hey, Lucas didn't know what he was writing, and he didn't know if he was going to have a Han Solo after that, and he had barge kicks with Luke Skywalker, where his force kicking like 3 feet away and people flying back. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, Princess Bride, those are my perfect movies.
Those are pretty good ones.
Yeah,
I can't disagree with those.
Right, but yeah, I mean, like you can go back and you can read Splinter in the Mind's Eye, which was a book that was released after Star Wars. Pretty much what they were going to do was they wanted to make it more like Planet of the Apes, and they weren't going to throw a budget at it. And then when Lucas got the script or whatever it was, they turned it down, and then they ended up doing Empire Strikes Back, which was good for them, But then you have all the expanded universe. I read all the Star Wars books. Well, I don't want to say all of them because I'm sure I haven't, but I've read a lot of them. And then they went and erased them all out. I'm like, okay, great. So now what are you going to do? You introduce that you're going to do more movies at the sequel trilogy, and you're not going to follow the expanded universe because there's some good stuff in the expanded universe. Yep. And then you're going to do a sequel trilogy, and you're not even going to have Luke, Leia, and Han get together. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have friends, like I mentioned, those friends from college that I guess a couple of them really love the Star Wars stuff, and I would hear so much about it. So I was able to keep up on it and have an idea of some different storylines. Then, of course, Wikipedia came out once upon a time, and I was able to quickly and easily get a summary.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of those stories seemed really interesting, and I can totally. That's one of the reasons why I was excited when it came to the prequels when they originally came out. I thought that I was one of those people that, because I want to, I could be wrong about this one, but I think the trailer for episode 1 was it was the first time that a trailer had a lot of oomph behind it, where people were going to a movie just to see a trailer.
Yeah.
It was before YouTube, so you couldn't just right away go to it. You had to actively try to get that sneak peek at it, and everyone was so excited, and I was too. And then the movie came out.
Yeah.
And all I can say is, Annie. It's okay,
actually, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie?
Annie, you just killed the whole village. It's okay.
Right. You just go with this guy that we just met. I don't know if he's lying or not. You were born out of the Force, even though I don't know what the Force is. I just one day became pregnant.
Oh, we can measure it now. Like,
right. I mean, these midi-chlorians are off the scales. Yeah. I know. And then they brought in Darth Maul, which is one of he's the best part of Phantom Menace. I mean, him and Qui-Gon.
And the music is still
Dual Fates. Man, I still listen to. I have a playlist on my phone that's all Star Wars music that's done in different ways, like electronic and everything like that. I listen to it every time I go to Taekwondo. I listen to it like probably 3 or 4 nights a week to sleep to. I mean, it's my go-to playlist just to clear my brain. So I'm actually doing a complete rewatch of everything Star Wars. I started with episode 1. So this is how far I am. I've watched episode 1, 2, all 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, episode 3.
You really are going in chronological order.
I am. And then I watched Solo, and then I'm on Rebels. I'm on the 2nd season of Rebels. And so next I have Rogue One, and then I'll go into the original trilogy, and then the sequel trilogy. But I've never.
I like how your voice kind of trailed off after that.
Right. And I didn't mind Force Awakens, and I think like they could have done a great sequel trilogy if they mapped it all out. I mean, even 30 years in the future. I mean, so Han's a deadbeat dad. Luke went into exile after trying to kill his nephew because he doesn't think about anybody being redeemed, even though he killed his own father because his own father redeemed himself at the end of Return of the Jedi. I mean, man, yeah.
It could have been. I like the idea. I did appreciate a lot how, right now I can't remember if it was the 1st or 2nd of the sequel trilogy, and forgive me if I don't remember the names, but I like the idea with Kylo Ren talking about kill the past.
Oh yeah.
I love that idea. I love having something new with Star Wars. I wanted to see that. And to go back to your original question about Star Wars or Star Trek, I want that too in Star Trek. That's why I was excited about Picard. I love the idea of advancing with things. I get tired of prequels. I really despise, especially the Star Wars ones, because they're so concentrated on individual characters. Like I just watched the trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi. I will see it. I don't know if I will pay money to see it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I will definitely, I will see it at some point in time. It could be when it's just on Disney Plus. I don't know what I'm going to do, or with friends. But I don't know. I get tired of the prequels where oh my God, young Han Solo is in trouble. What's going to happen? He's going to get out of it.
Right.
Because we know. And I think that's really, my wife pointed this out, and my wife is a big nerd as well.
Yeah.
Big nerd. As in, when we were dating, I let it slip that I had not yet seen Firefly. And
man.
I'm sorry, we were engaged at the time. I'm serious when I thought she considered, like, do I need to break off this engagement? He hasn't seen Firefly.
Yeah.
So, but as she pointed out, and I think it's very valid, like, well, that's one reason why we liked, because we both agreed on it. We really liked Rogue One. I think you and I've had that.
Rogue One is the second best Star Wars movie that's been made.
Yeah, because it had everything that was great about Star Wars. It had the action, it had the space fight up above the and the ground stuff. So it had the pew 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 pew. And a story we didn't know how it's going to end.
Right.
Not concentrating on one person and some mythical thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you knew how it was going to end with them dying, but you wanted to see that journey because
I didn't know they were going to die.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's a line in A New Hope about all these all the people that died to get us.
Right, but they mentioned it as if it were a race, and they never mentioned that throughout the movie that they were a particular race. I think Bantu, Bantu or Bantha spy, and they said they were spies. So no, that wasn't mentioned.
Oh, okay. But I mean, Rogue One is Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One. I don't even. I mean, then the rest, whatever. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, obviously. So I mean, I love them. But it's like I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch them unless I'm doing something like I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Like if I want to watch Star Wars, I'm like, what Star Wars are gonna watch? Empire Strikes Back or Rogue One. If it's my wife, I'm gonna watch Rogue One because it's newer, so I can get her more into it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, we don't have to watch the rest of the movies. I could just tell you.
We when I in the 90s, it had to been in the 90s, but late 90s, I got a new system. And that was also when they re-released the Star Wars, the first time they re-released.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get that sound at the beginning of the movie. And so the last week got a new sound bar and surround system. And I thought about going back to original Star Wars, but instead I just did it with Rogue One, just to get that complete surround sound with a pew 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 and waiting for that last. Yes, you could say it's pandering to fans, but damn it, at the end, when you finally see why Darth Vader is feared, because every other time he's just a whiny, he's whiny.
He's Annie from Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
And
so
Anakin
awesome.
from. Well, like the Anakin that we got in Revenge of the Sith was way better than Anakin in Attack of the Clones. And honestly,
first remember which one is Revenge of the Sith?
The third one. That's the one where Anakin falls to the dark side. Out of the prequels, it's the best one.
Yes.
But they had so many. They had so much to do in it, and going back to bring it back. I mean, the Clone Wars. After just rewatching the entire series, really made those prequels a lot more because you had those clones in there, and Ahsoka Tano, who is very important to Star Wars, how she not even in the movies, but I mean just those relationships and see how Anakin does fall, and Matt Lanter was better.
Not seeing what's her name again? The character's name, Ahsoka
Tano, yeah.
Yep. Rosario Dawson. Oh yeah, that's all I want to say.
Right. But they're again, then going back, the Mandalorian, man, they especially after the sequel trilogy failed. It is failed. It's there, but it failed. And then the Mandalorian is a course correction for Star Wars.
If it is, then it's a very good one. Very good course correction.
Right.
I can't criticize the Mandalorian. I mean, it's not original in terms of its themes.
No.
Themes, it's a Western. Or, it's
a space Western.
Yeah, which is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Did I mention Firefly a little earlier? I did. What is it?
I had never watched Firefly till after I watched Serenity.
Ditto.
And I loved Serenity, and I had no idea. I was like, this should be a TV show. And then a friend of mine was like,
You didn't know? Oh wow,
dude, yeah, this is a TV show. Do not say this in public. I'm like, okay.
I need to drink to that one. I'm getting a little bit here.
All right, so talk a little bit about Star Wars and Star Trek. What about Marvel and DC? Marvel or DC, Jeff?
Oh, tough call on that one. I really don't have a solid opinion on that one.
Okay.
When it comes, because again, I'm not big on
Comic,
comics. Never, I just go with what I've heard here and there.
Mhm.
Growing up, was more familiar with the DC stuff because of Justice League, need I say more, but also there was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
More recently, for movies wise, Marvel hands down. They've done a really good job of, again, not every movie has been great. And that's where, for example, to go back real fast, the Star Wars thing, not all Star Trek movies are good. I would say it was that classic thing of even number good, odd number bad. That was broken more recently, but have you heard that before? You're looking.
I have not heard that before.
So years ago,
now I'm going to my brain. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, years ago there was
a Search for Spock 5.
Yeah. The first one, second one, awesome.
Right. Wrath of Khan, third.
Fourth one was the Voyage Home.
Oh, yep, that was really good. Yeah, I love that movie.
I can't even remember. That was one.
Was it that Undiscovered Country or the Undiscovered?
Nope. No, Undiscovered Country was 6.
Oh, okay.
So again,
so 5 is I don't, if I don't remember it, you don't remember it? Yeah, it must have sucked.
5 was one of the worst ones ever. They eventually found someone who claimed to be God in the middle of the universe.
That's dumb, but yeah.
Anyhow, so they had that going for a while, and the more recent movies have been entertaining.
Yeah,
I think not always original, but I blame J.J. Abrams on that one because he has both for Star Trek and Star Wars. He just recycles old stuff. But so they're not all great. But the Marvel movies, and in a similar way, I'd say Marvel movies are like that. They're not all that great.
No,
I did not like Captain America.
They're cookie cutters.
Yeah, I didn't much care for Thor or Dark World. I want to say
yeah,
the second Thor.
The one where they got Doctor Who in there and they didn't even do nothing with him. They made Malekith such a freaking pansy.
Forgot about that. Yeah, but they progressed and they got better. Now I don't know if they're going to continue on that track because they're going to be doing the safe stuff, especially with Disney now being in charge. Disney does safe.
Yeah.
And Marvel, I think what set it apart was that it tried different things. And DC movies, I can't think. Now, okay, I lie. I did like Man of Steel. That's where I'm not in agreement with most other people. A lot of people did not like Man of Steel, but I thought it was a fine movie.
It was a good super hit. It was Superman. I mean, it's hard to do Superman because you have certain things that you have to hit with Superman. Yeah. I like Zack Snyder's vision of DC. I liked Man of Steel. I was not a huge fan. I liked parts of Batman versus Superman, and we've had this conversation many of times. Martha. Yep. And then the Dawn of Justice or whatever, and then Justice League when Zack had his back or whatever. But given Zack Snyder knowing what the fans wanted of Justice League for several years, he was able to go back and feed them. But we did get a good Wonder Woman movie, the first one.
Thank you. I forgot about that one.
84. Oh my God. I mean, I like Cheetah. I did like Cheetah in it, and I liked Wonder Woman. They shouldn't have brought Steve Trevor back. That was stupid. I mean, they could have done it in like a flashback, or they could have done. I'm like, come on, people, come to me. I could come up with a better
Wonder Woman
idea
sexually assaulted someone because there's nothing to say that. Not to say you probably disagree with it because if you were a straight man,
right?
But again, we're making an assumption on that one. But the body that Steve inhabited, he inhabited the body.
Yeah,
he stole someone's body, and she had sex with that.
Yeah. I mean, I never really went there, but yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
And she had no problems with that. She's like, yeah.
I mean,
so.
and the guy got it with Wonder Woman. So I mean,
Again, but we're assuming that. I mean, if he were a straight man, probably
yeah,
no problems with it. But we're
true.
assuming here. What if he were a gay man?
I mean,
not something that would.
But even a
What if he were married?
If I was a gay man and I unintentionally had sex with Wonder Woman, I'm still thinking that's pretty darn awesome. I mean, I there again, she's a fictional character, but I mean, yeah. Shazam. I loved Shazam.
That's one I have not yet seen. I keep on intending to. It's on my list.
I mean, I wouldn't buy it. I mean, but I would definitely go rent it for a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Aquaman. I am not a fan of
nowadays. You just said rent it for a couple bucks. I mean,
yeah, Amazon. You can rent it on Amazon for like $3 or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. But Aquaman. Right. Oh man. I hate Aquaman. I hate the comic Aquaman. The movie with Jason Momoa was good. Yeah. I can't find fault with that. However, now the comics are trying to make Aquaman Jason Momoa. So I mean, they've darkened his hair. He's not white blonde surfer boy now. Now he's long hair, darker. He's got the tattoos, which is smart on DC because Jason Momoa does kick a lot of ass.
True, but if they're going to base it off of Jason Momoa, does that also mean that he's going to love tasty tacos and love some corn on the cob? Because
I hope so.
If I remember correctly, I think he was born in Hawaii, but he is completely raised. He is cornbread Iowan through and through.
Oh yeah, I mean, Superman and Aquaman both were on the same soccer team in Norwalk at one time. Norwalk,
really?
Iowa. Yeah, they were on the same sports team. I think it was soccer, but it might have been football or baseball or something. But yeah, I remember seeing that. I'm like, wow. The one time, can you imagine that coach? He's like, yeah, I coached Brandon Ruth and I coached Aquaman. I'm like, man, that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Man.
I gotta say, Iowa's done a pretty good share of being linked to sci-fi. Because I mean, when you think about, we are not. I mean, yeah, we're known for being the all-American type stuff, but as you mentioned, those actors' connections to sci-fi. Other actors, I can think of, well, in Star Trek anyhow, the actress that played Janeway, I can't think of her name right now, but she's from Dubuque.
I did not know that.
Along with the actress. Well, if you were to ask me, who's your favorite Star Trek actress, or not actress, but female character, I have to go with Jadzia Dax. And that actress she's from Cedar Rapids.
Really?
And then, of course, yeah, you mentioned the Kirk. Trying to think what else. Well, the newer movies established that the Enterprise is a project of Iowa State University. In the 2009 Star Trek, when Kirk pulls up because he's in Iowa,
right? Not an Iowa I've ever seen, but
yeah, I know, so flat.
Well, I guess it is in the future, so we never know. And we are global warming, so you never know.
Exactly. Yep. But when he pulls up to the Enterprise being constructed there, I'm sorry, when he shows up later on and tosses the guys the keys to his motorcycle and all that fun stuff, those cooling towers in the background. Anyone who's been to Iowa State, that looks like the cooling towers for the power plant at Iowa State. So I'm going to go with the Enterprise was built in Ames because of also going along with sci-fi in Iowa later on in Discovery here. I can't think of what episode, but it was in the first season. They're talking about Starfleet intelligence. They mentioned it being in Jefferson, Iowa.
I never caught that.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's awesome.
So we do pretty well when it comes to having our links to some sci-fi and nerdy stuff.
Kate Mulgrew is Janeway. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Voyager, I love Star Trek does TV better. I mean, there should always be a Star Trek show on TV.
Yes.
And the fact that you have to get it streaming kind of sucks. But I mean, I was raised on The Next Generation. So The Next Generation and Doctor Who, that's how I came up. Patrick Stewart's my number one captain.
I go with Cisco.
I need to rewatch Deep Space Nine because I've never watched the entire series.
Oh,
and you're not the first person to tell me this. So it is on my radar. It is on. I think it is on Paramount Plus.
I think so.
I mean,
I'm
they have
just waiting for
everything else.
Disney to buy that too.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I think it'd be a really cool Star Wars, Star Trek crossover. Somehow, I'm sure there's where there's a will, there's a way. I'm honestly surprised that Star Wars hasn't crossed over with Marvel, since Marvel owns the comic book rights.
I guess there could be, but Marvel is still based on Earth, and Star Trek is in a galaxy long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Right,
So
but they
has
time
no way.
travel, and there's ways.
There's
a portal
ways.
that was opened in a galaxy far, far away,
Don't you
and a
think it'd take a little?
lightsaber. So, or Captain America finds a lightsaber, on Earth, or Han Solo, and Chewbacca crash land on Earth, and Indiana Jones finds the remnants of the Millennium Falcon, and Bigfoot is actually a Wookiee.
Okay, it seems like you've thought about that one. That one's pretty good.
Maybe a few times.
That one I can appreciate. I can appreciate that one because I don't know. I think that having it in a galaxy a long time ago, far, far away, I have a lot of criticisms of Star Wars, but I do like that I like that from a literary perspective, it can maintain a little bit of freedom, not being linked to Earth, which is, is criticism of Star Trek, for example, would be that as much as I really like it, but at the same time, why is it that if this takes place, and I'm not that much of a nerd, I can never keep the years straight of how far, I want to say it takes place 400 years in the future. Everyone loves the 20th century. Why is that? They don't often talk about events that happen after the 20th century, aside from the eugenics wars and World War III.
Yeah.
They don't talk about the culture, the music that would have come out afterwards. The only time you see that I can think of is in Deep Space Nine. Cisco is a big baseball fan, and part of that means that he followed baseball towards the time when it stopped being a professional thing, when it was still interplanetary. So some of the colonies of Earth, at least of Earth, I don't know if it was before or after it joined the Federation, they took part in a World's Series.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was one of the few times you see anything going afterwards. So I don't know. I think that if you were to link them, Star Wars would fall into possibly that problem of being too linked to Earth, or be like Battlestar Galactica and the predecessors of Earth.
Cylons. In Battlestar Galactica is a great show. That deserves definitely a rewatch. I heard that they were trying to reboot it or something like that. Not long ago, I heard that. But Battlestar Galactica is one of those shows that is pretty darn perfect. It is a great show.
I rewatch every so often when I want to see. I like to watch certain things of just space things happening. And one of my favorite things is when they take the Galactica, and after they found that one planet that was relatively inhabitable, and the Cylons came and took over, and the Galactica and the Pegasus got out because they couldn't fight the Cylons. I love that scene where they jump into the atmosphere, as you see it descend from the gravity of the planet, launch the Vipers with all flames up and everything, and then jump right through the planet just before it crashes into the surface. Like,
oh man,
that's one of my squee moments.
So I'll tell you, I will do once I'm done with my Star Wars rewatch, I will do a Deep Space Nine, but when I'm done with Deep Space Nine, we have to do a follow-up episode, and we will go. I want to go as far into the weeds as we can with Deep Space Nine.
I would entirely agree on that one. Ahead of time, I accept, because that is my favorite Star Trek.
Awesome.
The rest of them they're really good on their own merits, but that one is that good combination of classic, almost next generation Star Trek. I mean, it's in the same time period, but not going as dark as what some people have hinted at recently about Section 31.
Now, Discovery, and Discovery is great, and then there's the spin-off of Discovery, which is going to be Pike and Spock, that leads into the original series. That's coming out soon, I think.
I hope so.
And then there's Lower Decks. Have you watched Lower Decks at all?
Only the first few episodes. I liked it, and it's just more.
Yeah.
My kids won. I can only see so much.
Right. I hear you there. Leia, I was watching The Walking Dead, and Leia started having nightmares about zombies coming to eat her, and I'm like, well, crap, I can't watch Walking Dead even after I put you to bed. So
I thought about that. We were watching Attack on Titan recently,
Mhm.
and had the kid bouncing in my lap. I'm like, should we be watching this big cartoon about these giant creatures eating these tiny humans as I'm holding on to a tiny human?
Eh, it works. Then you could be a Titan and you could just pretend, right?
I don't know if I want to give him nightmares intentionally.
That's true. That is true. You don't want to cause. You got a couple years yet before you need to start causing those problems.
Yeah. But to go back to your that one question that you had, and I'm sorry to deviate.
No, I like the sidetracks. The sidetracks is what I live for in this podcast. So,
but I think that Marvel has done a very good job. When we got Disney Plus, we've been rewatching some of the putting on the background some of the Marvel movies, and that's why I can say that not all of them are good or that great, but they check a lot of the boxes when it comes to an entertaining movie without being too serious, without being too stupid, where you want to yell at the TV. They don't take themselves seriously enough where you're like, why didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, they're getting Spider-Man right.
Yeah.
I really like the direction of Spider-Man. And Shang-Chi was fantastic. Definitely go see it as soon as you can. It is a great movie. They followed the Black Panther cookie cutter. It's very similar to Black Panther, but Black Panther was a great movie as well. I mean, it's probably it's in the top 5 for me for the Marvel movies. I mean, just off the top of my head, I think my top 5
has a good IMDb rating, a really good one.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to include the Avengers movies because, I mean, those are that. But my standalone favorite Marvel movies, I would have to say Iron Man 1. I would say Civil War. But you know what? I take that back. I would take Civil War is a freaking Avengers movie, so we're gonna take that out of the mix.
Yes.
So Iron Man, I'd say Black Panther, Shang-Chi. Yeah. I would say Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And one more, Ant-Man.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
I love Ant-Man, man. I mean, the fact that they didn't really use the first Ant-Man, Hank Pym, and they still made him in the movie, it was just awesome.
See, again, not comics, so didn't know that. And Nate did it. I thought they did a very good job. Very entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Hank Pym in the comics he's a douche, which they I mean, there was a big thing because he hits Janet in the comics, and it was a big thing about abuse and all that kind of stuff. I mean, because he smacks her, and it almost a lot of people boycotted Marvel at that time for all that happening. And so
when did this issue come out?
Oh, this was in the 70s or early 80s. This is late 70s.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then it was after that. Then Hank Pym took a heel turn and became Yellowjacket, which is a bad guy, who was the bad guy in Ant-Man, by the amazing actor Corey Stoll.
So I didn't know any of that background. So in other words, the episode of What If? Yes. That was a good tie-in with that.
That was the perfect segue because I was leading right into that. Yes, I'm glad you picked up on that. That was the reason. That's been my favorite episode of What If so far because of that. They're like, oh my gosh, they reclaimed Hank Pym as a total douche, and he literally kills all the Avengers. Like, this is pretty brilliant. Well,
I like the way he killed the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I will say I did like the Marvel Zombies one.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
Got as far as the first 3 then.
Yeah, so I think you're down one. I think you're down 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do zombies quickly or soon because you mentioned that your daughter
Yep.
or has an issue or had nightmares of Walking Dead. That's one of the things in this household both my wife and I can agree on, that zombies were a little uncomfortable with.
Yeah. Yep. And they don't do it in a really like horror way. I mean, but it's still, yeah. I mean, they walk that line. But there's a lot of other really good stuff on Disney Plus, like Turner and Hooch. If you're not watching it, that is very, very kid friendly. It's freaking amazing.
I had my problems with the movie back in the day.
Oh, did you? Okay, well,
I don't remember the problems other than I
mean,
wasn't entertained.
Right. I mean, like, it's a fun show. It is a super fun show. They don't like the dude isn't Tom Hanks's character. He's his son. Spoiler alert. And then there's a new show that just came out. It's Doogie, a word, a Hawaiian word I can't say without desecrating it. MD. And it's great too.
I saw it up there on Disney Plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, he tends. I mean, keep in mind though, my kid is 1, so we're pretty free to watch mostly whatever we want. Right. There's one video, a random thing on YouTube that he loves. It's a British one, Oxbridge Baby. That's his thing.
Yeah.
But for the most part, for Disney on that one, he tends to like the stuff with ocean and blue. He stops whatever he's doing and will watch Moana and Finding Nemo. And we're watching Finding Nemo. Damn. Again, for your viewers or your listeners, my kid is 1. This is my first kid. I get a little emotional when I'm watching Finding Nemo now with my kid.
Man. I mean, in Moana, that's probably one of my favorite Disney movies that's been made. I mean, is Moana. It's just a good show. Some songs,
it's a really good round one.
Right.
It has a little bit of everything.
Right. I love the movies that aren't all about, finding the love of your life or whatever. I like the siblings and, the mom and the dad, I like those. It's a good change than that helpless woman needing to be saved by Prince Charming. You know, I mean, it's great.
Or like you said, love. I mean, Frozen tried to break that paradigm by having it be siblings. But still, you mentioned love. Moana it's a quest. It's a classic quest. It is. I mean, I'm a big, or was, again, 1-year-old, big World of Warcraft player. So I'm all about, here's a quest. Let's have a little raid.
Man, I need to get, when I have the money, once my wife's business takes off and does good, because my wife started a business about a year ago in accounting. I don't know if I told you that or not.
No.
Here in Des Moines or here in Ankeny, Iowa, called Bookkeeping Plus. It's just a small accounting firm. They do the right things. I mean, like, people were coming into them with all sorts of issues from H&R Block and all that kind of stuff, and they were charging less money than H&R Block, and they're fixing stuff like you would not believe. They're amazing at what they do. So I mean, they can do taxes. I think in all 50 states. I don't know how that all works. Don't quote me on that. I will be coming up with some type of commercial that I'll be putting on some episodes in the future for them, because it's my wife and I love her. So they love what they do, and they're doing it for the right reasons. And then usually good things happen when that happens, but so they're working their butts off there. And then I work my butt off with, Wells Fargo, and then do other things. And, but yeah, man,
so when the money comes in, or when you get a little bit more money.
Right. Thank you for bringing me back, because I lost track there. I'm definitely going to buy a gaming computer.
Oh, that's right. You were
I've been wanting to buy a
gaming computer. This is my look right now of, I don't know, I'm trying to mean mug you. You were telling me this then.
Years ago.
Admittedly, I was, years ago.
Yeah. No, a year and a half ago. Yeah. I've been gone from the state for over a year.
Yeah. Because even though I haven't been weekly chiming in with my friends that play Stellaris, you would like Stellaris.
And you know what? Like, I have almost bought the console version just because of that. And I'm like, okay, I remember Jeff telling me that the console version, I probably wouldn't dig it.
No, it was the mobile version that I remember.
Mobile, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
it's up for $15.
Yeah, I would say give the console version a try. I know that there's a cross-platform option right now. I don't know
Oh.
how many people can do it cross-platform,
Mm-hmm.
or if there's any DLCs that are excluded. But you would, I think you would like it. It's one of the, so in addition to movies and so forth, when I say I'm a gamer, I'm not the gamer where I don't get a variety of games and play them. I just get a few games here and there and play the living crap out of them.
Yeah.
And Solaris is one of them. But I used to play Master of Orion 2, and a few versions of like mods that would go with Civilization. I like that, or Birth of the Federation. That was a cheap, not well functioning, but fun computer game. And Solaris really allows you to role play, to create a weird ass species of any form that you want. They're going to be having a patch coming out this coming week where you can be a plant-based species and grow your ships.
That's pretty awesome. That's I'll next time I see a sale, and then I'll try to pick that up. But I'm not a first person shooter type of guy. I am horrible at them. And I keep downloading them when they're free for like the PlayStation game of the month or whatever. And then I'll give it like 10 minutes and I'm like, yep, I'm good. I scratched that itch. I'm good. And I'll delete it, and so I've tried to get into Call of Duty, and I like the more open world games. I like the quests. That's my jam. I like doing those, like Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War just released a new trailer for Ragnarok. That looks pretty freaking awesome.
Everything is Ragnarok nowadays. There was something else I'd seen that was Ragnarok. There was a Norwegian film that came out that was on Netflix. I want to say it came out about 3 years ago. That was called Ragnarok.
Yeah,
there's nothing to do with sci-fi really. It was more like a monster movie. It was really good. It's one of the few times I've ever seen a movie that had kids as characters when something serious is going on, and the kids weren't special. Like usually a kid is a savant in something, or they're a complete idiot. They were kids being kids.
Yeah.
I would suggest that movie at some point in time if you want to have a kid-friendly movie that still has a little bit of monster in it. And
very cool.
Yeah, it was.
I think I have it on my queue on Netflix that I've never watched. So.
Well, there's also another TV show called Ragnarok too.
Oh, okay.
Again, that's what I mean.
It's all the trailer. Yeah, I'll Amazon that trailer.
I know it's a fun word, but damn, man.
Right? They Thor kind of they brought that right into the mainstream.
Yes, that's probably it right there.
All right. Well, I think we should probably talk about some perfect movies. So I'll start with start with first of mine with Empire Strikes Back. This way you can get some time to think up of a few. Empire Strikes Back came out in the early 80s, and it was one of the first movies it's one of the first movies that you got that what the fuck. Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad. Are you freaking kidding me? The way that movie was put together, which coincidentally George Lucas did not direct this. I mean, all hail, the god of, God George Lucas, the Star Wars god or whatever. The best stuff from Star Wars wasn't directed by him. Just saying. Yes, you have good ideas. Give them to people and let them go.
Yeah.
Prequels. Oh man. Oh gosh. Anyway,
we haven't said the name yet, but Jar Jar.
Misa. Well, no, but he would have been better off as a bounty hunter, like he was originally supposed to be. Jar Jar Binks originally was supposed to be a tough, brooding bounty hunter. And they decided they needed freaking comic relief in the movie.
So then instead, also, does that lead into the Jar Jar was actually a Sith?
That would have been awesome. And it's not like you need to leave little nuggets to lead into something. I mean, Palpatine, episode 9. I mean, you don't need anything there. You don't need to foreshadow. Oh, and
Here,
so-
let's just pull this out of the board. The sun doesn't
right.
shine.
All right, I got a hat with a bunch of characters' names. Who wants to dig in? And this is going to be the main guy.
Once again, they started off pretty well by saying, kill the past and let it die. They
and
could not let it die. And that added into why I did not like those movies.
Oh, man. So,
throw over that premise. Anyhow, perfect movies.
Well, yeah, one last thing on that. So I was doing a podcast with a few buddies of mine called Nerd Church Radio back when Force Awakens came out. And I called the ending of Star Wars. I called that Rey was a Palpatine. And then, yeah. But anyway, perfect movie. Empire.
This is just you saying, I called it.
I called it. And so they should have hired me. I could have come up with way better ways to bring Palpatine in. I would have made Snoke really Plagueis, and I would have had them snippets of them throughout the movies, leaving little nuggets. I would have had them bring in Broom Boy as a new apprentice. I mean, you could have made this shit work.
Is it Broom Boy? Oh yeah.
Yep, at the end of Last Jedi, which was probably the best scene in the movie.
Perfect movie.
Yes, perfect movie. Thank you for bringing back Empire Strikes Back. Anything you want to add about Empire?
Seldom do you see in American films things leave off with the antagonist having the advantage.
Yes.
Or, for that matter, without a complete cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time when it comes to an American film, and I'm only saying Americans, I've seen those most of the time.
Yeah.
And what I've seen enough foreign films to know that there's a little bit of difference between genres here and there, or how we do things and how other countries do things. But most of the time when we do a movie that has a sequel, especially nowadays, it is a slow pitch, underhand, look, we're going to do a sequel. And you can't really appreciate the movie that you just saw without seeing the sequel. Nor can you appreciate the movie without seeing the prequel. Return of the Jedi, I'm sorry, not Return, Empire Strikes Back, I think, does a very good job of, you can just see it on its own merits, because they, it is kind of bad to have that whole to have narration or something at the beginnings. When a movie has to explain its setup from the very beginning, just put it in words, that's kind of a cop-out.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, but they do it because it's a prequel or a sequel. And that leads right nicely into the new movie. Additionally, it doesn't happen one after the other. So between episode 4 and episode 5, there is something in between there where we don't know what happened, which will probably be another Disney movie.
No, comics. They do it in the comics.
Did it before Disney, or they're doing
after?
It now?
They're doing it now. So
okay.
After Disney, after Marvel took back control of the comics, they decided to go to start selling the in between Star Wars and Empire. So they did 50 some issues. And I see a baby.
They can't hear you right now.
Oh, there's a baby over there.
Take it off. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Sorry,
I didn't know it was so soon. Friend of hers is from out of town, so.
Oh, that's cool.
Bye. Okay. You're not getting out from the car seat.
Babies are important. I love the babies. Oh, awesome.
Sorry, you see my dog's ears, right?
Oh yeah, I do see him right there. Yep. Hi, doggy.
He's got big ears.
That's all right.
He can hear the moon rotate.
I bet he can. Yeah. But back on track. What track were we on?
Why Empire Strikes Back was a good movie.
Oh, yeah.
To you, a perfect movie.
Oh, yeah. No, it just really is. It just did something that had never been seen before. Empire Strikes Back. There we go. And then, secondly, my is Princess Bride. The Princess Bride. Man, it had a little bit of everything, and that's the way that it was marketed. It had your, you know, action. It had your love. It had Fred Savage in there as a kid. It would be read by Peter Falk. And if it had nothing more than just that, it
Peter
probably
Falk's
would
still
still.
alive.
No, I think he died. Like I think he died a
Hmm.
while ago.
Damn it.
I'm curious. We'll have to.
Okay, you look it up.
I'll look it up. Yeah. Anything about Princess Bride?
Other than to say that with 6 years in Spain, I don't trust too many Spaniards. I've known too many of them.
It's
a lie. But I love when I was teaching English class. I taught English when I was in Spain. For 4 of the 6 years I taught there, and I love to just point out to kids like, "Hey, see, can't trust you."
Oh, awesome.
Although that said, to go on the serious side, and because I'll do this also if you give me enough time when it comes to the comparison of the names of movies and genres we've mentioned already, but I would say there's a trend in English-speaking literature. I blame 1588 on this one, of having the Spanish be kind of bad guys.
Yeah.
You cannot name The Princess Bride is the closest we have had in movies to a protagonist that is Spanish, not Mexican, Argentinian, and so forth. And to go along with that, you don't even have Spanish actors who play Spaniards. Spanish characters are usually played by someone else.
Yeah.
Amistad, you had a couple of Spanish characters there. You have, can't think of his name, Doc Ock, that actor. Alfred Molina.
Yeah.
He's part Spanish, but he's not. He's raised.
Can't really tell.
I think he's raised in Britain, if I remember, or U.S. Okay. But that's the closest we get. You got like Antonio Banderas. He never plays a Spaniard, but Princess Bride is the closest you have to someone to a Spaniard who is okay.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they're bad people.
Huh? I never thought of that. And I did check. Peter Falk died in 2011.
You're right. It's been a little while.
It's been 10 years. Wow, that's crazy. You know what? I would like to see. Speaking of Peter Falk, let's bring back Columbo. Let's reboot Columbo.
Dude, we reboot everything nowadays.
I know, but I like Columbo.
Or as you mentioned, a couple examples on Disney Plus, make them kids.
Right, make them their kids and bring back and hit all those really cool.
Next, it'll be Muppet babies.
Muppet grandparents.
Yes, we already had Muppet babies, so now we're just having.
Well, yeah, but did they really? Because you don't have a half frog, half pig.
True, but at the same time, you don't necessarily have a particular ethnicity or race assigned to any Sesame Street character. True. And yet somehow recently there's the first African American Sesame Street character coming up here. Like, don't get me wrong, they're the most inclusive group that I've ever seen in my life. But
so what is Gonzo?
Exactly.
What is the monster? What is monster? Or not monster, animal. I'm thinking animal.
Animal. Dude,
very cool.
I assume that you've seen the on YouTube. Well, at least on YouTube, you can find the what's the name of that band? The Electric
ESO. Are you talking about ESO?
No. Muppet Show, the one that Animal's in. What band is he in? Along with Pink.
Was it Weezer?
No.
What?
So the character Animal.
Yeah.
In the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Is part of a group.
Okay.
What's the name of that group? It's a fictional group.
Oh, okay.
Electric something. I want to say.
Yeah.
Anyhow, they do a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody.
I will definitely YouTube that.
That is the bomb diggity.
I will definitely YouTube that. I saw a version of, oh man, I put it on Facebook and now I can't even think what it was. It was a version of Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, it's done in Klingon. And look it up. Yeah, look up Bohemian Rhapsody in Klingon, and it is so amazing. You will thank me. Oh man, it is it's so amazing.
I will do.
All
Talk back.
right,
You do not truly appreciate Shakespeare until you've heard it in its original Klingon.
you're right. You are right. Oh man. All right.
My
So what
wife.
about you? What about you,
Oh,
Jeff?
I was gonna say, on that thought real fast about original Klingon.
Uh-huh.
I mentioned that story about that my wife thought about, is this going to be a marriage thing since I hadn't seen Firefly? And after we got married, I knew that I made the right choice when I'm not going to say what we were watching. That's it. We were watching Stargate.
Okay.
And she was trying to repeat something in Jaffa. Are you familiar with Stargate?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So she said Patak. She tried to insult me, but she didn't say try, but she said, "You Patak." And she meant to say Shova.
Okay.
But the fact that she confused Klingon with Jaffa.
Very cool. You know what? There's another show that I haven't watched for years is Stargate.
I would even we've mentioned, well, I've made it clear that I really like Star Trek, but Stargate as SG-1 as a complete series on its own is probably my favorite general sci-fi series.
Man, okay.
Because humor, seriousness, things progress.
And MacGyver.
And MacGyver.
Right. Okay, so I will definitely get around to a rewatch of Stargate as well. So we'll definitely have to be my spirit guide through Stargate. we will definitely be bringing Stargate to the Fandemic for anybody who likes it. So maybe we'll do a few episodes there as well. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, so under I should say appreciated is definitely appreciated, but it's not a very as talked about as the other ones.
Yeah, and it was a lot better
shows.
than because there's Stargate Universe, there was Stargate Atlantis, and then I think there was there's at least one more.
On TV, it was SG-1, Atlantis, and Universe in order.
Okay, and then
they made a web series of another. I don't know what it was called, but it was a prequel, like everything.
I remember I did read that Kurt Russell is on board for a new Stargate movie.
And I can't remember the name of the websites. One website mentioned that Amazon bought the rights to Stargate from MGM.
And I think James Spader, I want to say I did read that James Spader was going to come back as well.
That would be good.
I mean,
especially Kurt Russell. I mean, yeah.
I mean, the dude can grow a massive mustache. I mean, if you love him or hate him, I tend to love him. I mean, because
I tend to really like him.
I mean, Tombstone, Big Trouble in Little Tokyo. He's
China.
Did I say Tokyo? Yes, I did.
Yes.
Big Trouble in Little China, which is probably one of my favorite 80s movies. It would probably go Big Trouble and then the Transformers.
You're not put on this earth to get it, Mr. Jack.
So I bought that. Well, not just, it's about a year ago. I had bought that in Blu-ray. It was in the $5 bin at Walmart, and I was like, what? The Big Trouble is $5?
Oh, it should be more.
Yeah. Oh man, that's such a great movie. I love that movie so much. And the Transformers movie. I love that movie. I bought it on PlayStation.
When I saw that, well, I shouldn't say I saw. Recently, I had this idea. I was talking with someone about Amazon buying the rights to Stargate for Stargate, and it made me think about how there is an episode in Stargate Atlanta or Stargate SG-1 where one of the ascended ancients, if you have any idea what I'm talking about, cool. If not, look it up. Rewatch it, you'll find out. So there's an episode where one of them descends because he had fallen in love with Carter. And I don't remember why, but somehow he got trapped in her house, couldn't go out. And in order to escape, he ordered things online. And keep in mind that this episode came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. So he ordered everything he needed online to have them delivered to make a Stargate in her basement. This was just bought by Amazon, where you can order everything online. So I think that Amazon can have a tie-in with, you can buy so much online right now through us, you can even build a Stargate.
That is pretty freaking epic. That is,
Or it's what Jeff Bezos wants to do.
right? Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, I think he. I mean, he does want to go to places never gone before. I mean, so I mean, in a gate, the Stargate would be a lot faster than a rocket ship. I mean, it's true. It is true.
Yep.
Huh. All right. Well, Jeff, so tell me, what's some perfect movies to you?
I have a hard time responding to that one because there's movies that I personally like, but when it comes to analyzing it, perfect movie, Empire Strikes Back is really up there. I gotta say, and for that matter, Princess Bride. I also got to throw in. It's not a perfect movie, but a very good movie. Would be Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
It's not perfect. It does have a few moments of why, but it is, and it's not a perfect movie because it is practically a World War II submarine movie.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end. But it has, I really appreciate movies. My favorite types of movies are the ones where the antagonist is truly a threat, an equal or superior. Not to talk about Star Trek 2 and how Khan was always the superior intellect. But to paraphrase that movie, but where the antagonist is so dangerous compared to the protagonist, or where they have a few things right. No, I shouldn't say right. Not to say that Khan was right, but it was. And I like revenge.
Yeah.
So it combined a lot of the things I like. A revenge movie with a little bit of a World War II submarine movie. I don't know if we talked about this much, or if you know me this well, but my shtick, my education is in history. Did a good job on that one. So sometimes when you can pull in things from history, or World War II stuff, I really like that. And that's Star Trek too. And it's also, by the way, why I agreed with you when you were talking about the Marvel movies, some of the best ones. Why I think Panther, the Black Panther, is up there as one of the best Marvel movies because the antagonist changed the protagonist. He was right to a point, and I really thought that was awesome. And that's all. So I'd also throw that up there as one of the near perfect movies when you have that balance, a true balance, and not just Iron Man, Ant-Man, where the antagonist is just a copy of the protagonist.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, Star Trek 2. If Star Trek 2 wasn't as good as it really was, there wouldn't the franchise would have died.
Yeah, because the third movie wasn't great.
Right. I mean, and they did kill Spock. Spoiler alert. No. And
oh, man.
Right. Oh yeah, Leia, you can rub my shoulders or scratch my back. There you go. But you are right. And I haven't seen that movie in years.
Observation. So when you asked me at the beginning of this a bit about myself,
I've
lived in 3 places overall in my life: Iowa, the East Coast around DC area, and Spain. And Iowans are kind of, we're considered kind of vanilla for a lot of reasons, but this is also the only place compared to those other 2 where I found as many nerds.
Oh yeah,
as many people who appreciated especially sci-fi. I can find a few here and there without a doubt. I found more than I thought I would in the DC area. But I'm mentioning this because on the 35th anniversary of Star Trek 2, they played that which this would have been now maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
They played that in one of the theaters in the DC area. And it was maybe a 15-minute drive for my wife and I. And we went to go see it in the evening. I didn't want to say it was a weeknight, but nonetheless, we were the only ones in the theater. So we had
that's
a
awesome.
whole theater to ourselves just to
man.
watch Star Trek 2. So when it came to that, that thing about, especially old movies when people are quoting things when they're happening, I could do it as much as I wanted in a whole theater.
That's awesome.
But that's just an example of people. The people didn't go to it as much, or even when I was also out there when Warcraft the movie came out. there are people in the theater, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as packed
Right.
as it could have been here, as I imagine it was here
Yeah.
on opening night. Same thing in Spain when it came to the Star Trek in 2000, was it 2009 or 2011?
I think it was 9.
9, okay.
I think
So I booked it to get to the theater on opening night for that one. It was half full.
Wow. Huh.
So yeah, I don't know. So perfect movies. I'm
I mean,
sorry to
it's
disappoint you.
objective. It's I'm not disappointed. I mean, it's objective. I mean, like, what is the perfect movie to you may not be what's the perfect movie to somebody else. You know.
Yeah, and I would also have to throw out there different genres. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, but Shawshank Redemption was a really good one.
You know what?
When I found out years
agree.
later that it lost to Best Picture of the Year to Forrest Gump, all I would say is, which movie do you more likely quote or see repeatedly? More people see, I think, what's replayed more often on syndicated TV is Shawshank Redemption, not Forrest Gump.
Yeah. I would happen to, but there again, Forrest Gump is another really good movie. I mean, Castaway. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, you could name an actor. We could probably go there. I mean, if you want to go stick in the hero genre, I mean, I think Logan is about as good as a superhero movie can get. But Logan is one of those movies. It's more of a movie that happens to have a superhero in it than a superhero movie.
Yeah,
you know. I mean, like, because a lot of the X-Men movies, they failed. I mean, like, I was
just watching X-Men 3 again because of Disney, because they have that too. Watching X-Men 3, I'm like, why did Magneto just move the whole bridge? Why couldn't he just put everybody on a boat?
Yeah.
Move them over on a boat. He only had a certain number of mutants. Just take a boat.
Yep.
Move over. And why didn't people get seriously hurt when he dropped the Golden Gates onto the island?
Alcatraz.
Thank you.
Yep.
Why didn't people? That was a big drop.
Right.
His troops shouldn't have been able to the pawns shouldn't have been able to go because their legs would have been hurt.
Correct. Yes.
Or they have enough metal in their bodies. Just lift everybody.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. I love Patrick Stewart as Xavier, and I love Ian McKellen as Magneto.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
McAvoy and Fassbender are good, but those guys are great.
Right. You know, I mean, like, man, to go back to your point. So the newest X-Men movie with Fassbender takes place in like 94. So in 5 years to when the first X-Men movie, he goes from Fassbender to McKellen.
And it was in 94. I think it took place a little earlier.
No, it took place in the 90s. Crap. So I mean, even if it was like 92,
I never thought about that.
Right. Yeah. It's like, okay, so you have not a lot of time to become Ian McKellen there, Michael Fassbender.
Let's face it, they were the way they set it up in the 90s. They set it up. I mean, those actors, I could believe those actors were from the 40s. I don't think they are, but I could believe it. I think they're a little younger than that. I want to say they're probably born in the 50s. Well, maybe 40. Well, Google's there for a reason. But I can believe it. It's when they got to the first one that was, I want to say it was Days of Future Past, when it took place in the future, and both Magneto and Xavier are there with Stewart, and they're really old then.
It's the mutant gene, man. The mutant gene, it keeps you young.
Yeah, it didn't in the 90s. Why do they look like they only aged 15 years?
Fill that plot hole in with something there. We can come up with something.
The X-Men movies, one thing I do appreciate, well, it's not the perfect movie, but I appreciate how at different times different superhero movies have really advanced the concept of superhero or even sci-fi movies. I think that sci-fi movies aren't quite there yet. Sci-fi is still, for popular culture, in the realm of Star Wars and I'm sorry, but I will say on public record to put on the internet, I don't believe that Star Wars is sci-fi. There's really no aspect of it that lends itself to science fiction. It doesn't. In literary science fiction, traditionally, is showing the effects of technology on society, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Well, going back to what I said about Star Wars isn't
Yeah.
based on Earth, it's hard to do that because it's a completely different society.
Yeah.
It is a space opera. It is literally based on Japanese films set in medieval Japan.
Right. It's samurai movies set in a different planet.
Right.
I've never thought of it that way, but I definitely see your point.
They have sword. I mean, to go with Han Solo, nothing better than having a blaster at your side, because a blaster should do it.
Correct. Unless Kylo Ren can stop those blasters in The Force Awakens, like he did.
So right now I'm imagining, because one thing you haven't mentioned yet is I just saw a trailer yesterday of Matrix 4. So
I have it on my list. I forgot. Oh my gosh, I had it on my list too. Matrix Revolution. I must have. Oh man.
Science fiction again, showing how how it could negatively affect society. I love that. Star Wars is not science fiction. No. It is knights in shining armor doing what it's
Arthurian. It's Arthurian science. Okay. So yeah, I know what you're saying. And so I guess, yeah, I don't know how to classify that. Now you have opened my eyes, sir. You have opened my eyes. So excellent job.
Well, with that said, that is what is considered science fiction to the popular culture,
right?
Overall, and I'm basing that on what do you see on Disney Plus?
Okay,
because they go with what's safe. The next one would probably be the X-Men. It's not science fiction. It's fantasy brought into the modern times.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantasy because of magical powers, whatever they are, explained with a mutant gene.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the stories they're fun, they're entertaining, and they brought both Star Wars and X-Men brought non-traditional movies what wouldn't have been successful before Star Wars.
Yeah,
made them a little bit more mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
True, and again, what I mean by true science fiction, meaning something that shows the effect of technology on society, using that definition,
mm-hmm.
Isn't as popular.
Mm.
It usually doesn't do as well.
Okay.
With a few exceptions. The Matrix is one of them.
Correct. I after watching the trailer, and I just watched it when it came right after it came out, was that on Thursday, and I'm like, okay, I know that the Matrix. Well, okay, so Matrix 1, I will say, is another perfect movie. Okay, and however, Matrix 2 and 3, yeah, you're right. It was one of those like, okay, I'm a big movie studio. We need to cash in on this. How quick can we get a sequel out? We're gonna throw all this more money to it. Make it happen.
But at the same time, let's face it, the Wachowskis, they're Wachowski, did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. I know, well, seeing Matrix 4 on its trailer, it only has Lana or Lena. I don't know how she pronounces her name.
Yeah,
Lana,
yeah.
okay.
I think so.
So it only has one of the brothers doing it. So, but even then, they only had just the Matrix, to be honest, as truly successful. Jupiter Rising.
Yeah.
Not science fiction like Star Wars, just pew pew in space.
Right. And I actually really like that definition. And like I said, I never thought of it that way. But I guess I would classify Star Wars, I guess, would be more of a fantasy genre than it would be science fiction by your definition, which I feel you have the correct definition. Star Trek is definitely science fiction. I mean, but even stuff like Star Wars should definitely be in the same genre as Lord of the Rings. It should
Yes.
be in those genres where it's not Earth, but it's Earth, you know? I mean, whatever. I mean, I guess even the opening crawl a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Whatever. But they're human. They're, you know, I mean, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's something I heard once upon a time. With my studies, history, yes, but also did the whole Spanish language thing, which in America or in the US, if you study a foreign language, it's literature. And so studied a lot of the literature or literature in different places. And yeah, it's something that came up studying literature, which is science fiction, historic, well, in literature is about that. That's why like the in literary terms, or that's why what's the name of the book? Big aliens are attacking. Ender's Game.
Okay, Ender's
Or
Game.
even War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, yeah, that's right.
That was a science using technology. We were behind technologically.
Right.
So it still had something to do with society. Ender's Game, not as much about the technology aspect, but going along with the book thing, it did have more to do about that. What was the one that I really
and that is a really good book too. I haven't read the whole series. I think there's like 5 or 6 books, isn't there?
Yeah.
I've only read the first
3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And they were good. I mean, not the best thing overall.
Right. I mean, it's entertainment. Yeah.
And going along with perfect, using that definition, at least, okay, so not a perfect movie, but I think the perfect sci-fi movie, talking about how science fiction affects society. Gattaca.
Man, that's Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman. Probably some of their best work in that movie. I mean, Ethan Hawke. I mean, I think that is probably his best movie. I know when I think of Ethan Hawke, that is probably the first movie that pops into my head.
I really liked of him. There's a movie, I can't think of the name of it, but it had to do with fantasy, not sci-fi, but with vampirism becoming the dominant thing.
Oh, I know.
Daybreak. And Willem Dafoe found the cure.
Yep, Daybreak. Or Daybreak or Daywalker or something like that. It had day in it.
Yeah. It's a good movie.
That is a good movie. I forgot all about that. Yeah, but I mean, like Uma Thurman, I mean, I'm going to say the only thing I will say Gattaca is one of the ones I'm going to think of, but I mean, you're going to think a bit of Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, and then I'm going to think of Gattaca and Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
for Uma Thurman, but I mean, she's one of those people. I mean, like 3 of those are all Quentin Tarantino. Obviously, I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan, but there again, Pulp Fiction is another perfect movie. I think not Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. I will say Reservoir Dogs because Reservoir Dogs is better than Pulp Fiction.
I like them. I really do. And the only reason why I don't say perfect is because the 2 movies that you mentioned as perfect films previously, anyhow, was that they were better for a wider audience.
True. Oh, I see that point.
And I think that not that perfect movie has to be PG. Those are very much rated R.
Yeah.
Those there are scenes in those movies that make, and a thing with Quentin Tarantino movies is that they make adults squeamish.
So, do you think that Quentin will get his Star Trek movie?
What?
Oh yeah, he I guess wants to make a Star Trek movie. The studios are trying to stop it. I just read an article just the other day that Quentin Tarantino is making a Star Trek movie.
The good, if he were to do that, is that he usually does present stories in a different, interesting way. And except for the part where people die very suddenly
and bloody.
Well, let me back up a second. I think what he could do well with Star Trek is that he loves homages. He does a very good job of bringing old stuff into the new. into the modern times, but making it almost so much of an homage that hasn't been done before, or for a while. Like, he definitely loves spaghetti westerns.
Oh yeah.
He loves samurai movies. And
would he be better for Star Wars?
Yes.
You know what? After when you brought up that point, that's when I'm like, wow, maybe a Quentin Tarantino Star Wars trilogy would be pretty freaking badass.
Yeah, and I think that he would be better for Star Wars because Star Trek, and I might be criticized for being a little bit of a purist in this one. I like that Star Trek does have a little bit of a utopian thing going with it. Well, I should say a little bit. It is obviously utopian. But I do appreciate some darker aspects to it being brought in from time to time, but just not glorified. You
gotta have the build theory.
But I think that he would be better for Star Wars because I think that his style of having things being a little bit more gory would lend itself to, just imagine that scene that we brought up a little earlier about Rogue One at the end with Darth Vader. Imagine Quentin Tarantino doing that. Oh,
for sure. I picture the what pops into my head with Quentin Tarantino would be a rogue Sith who isn't good, isn't bad, and but he's purely Sith. I mean, that's the one thing that I don't think Star Wars touches a lot on is Sith, and how, because Star Wars is all about hope. It's about your hope that something better is coming. That's the overall theme of Star Wars. But and I think you could tell a good story with the good guy being a Sith and really not have Jedi in it. Or
I would totally be on board with that. And that's another thing. Another reason why I'm not as much of a Star Wars fan as I got older, because I did not like the absolute light side, dark side.
Right.
There's a light side and dark side to every Schwartz.
Right, exactly. And then there'd be so much more. I mean, like all these people that were kicked out of the Jedi Order or left the Jedi Order for thousands of years. You can't tell me they didn't start their own little thing. Yeah. Or like when the Empire came to be, that they weren't going to go in and they're going to help the rebels. I mean, yes, you got the Fallen Order game, which is a fantastic game, by the way. You have Ezra Bridger. You have. I mean, they didn't Mace Windu. They could bring back Samuel Jackson, which.
Oh, he was awesome. Just the fact, going back with Quentin Tarantino directing.
Right, exactly. That's where I was going to. There I am. That's what I was coming back to. If you're gonna, my next line is if you're gonna have a Jedi in it, it should be Mace Windu. Or you know what? Better yet, Quentin Tarantino directs a Mace Windu movie. Takes place after Revenge of the Sith.
Like he survived?
Yep, he survived.
Okay, yeah. I'll give that one. Okay. Yep. I was gonna say, because I will just flat out say I'm not to say I won't watch it and won't like things, but I just don't. I cringe at the prequel story or the story behind something. It's like, right. I know how it's going to end.
I know.
It goes back. I'll say it goes back to Titanic. I couldn't understand why it's such a big hit. Like, I know it's going to sink. It's freaking Titanic.
Right. I know how this movie ends.
Sorry. Spoiler alert, everyone.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm with you. That's why I couldn't get into Gotham, the show Gotham. I'm like, because Gotham failed to do what it should have done. Every season should have been based on a villain, not Jim Gordon. Jim Gordon should not have been the main character in that show, because you know what? Jim Gordon fails because Batman comes to save the day. I mean,
sorry, I was going to say real fast. I mean, it's kind of like saying that Robert E. Lee would have won the war in Afghanistan. Oh, he lost. Sorry, that be all on a serious note.
Yeah. Oh man, that's probably
just for future listeners. It was said by someone that. Okay.
That'll probably be the title of the episode. Robert E. Lee wins the war in Afghanistan.
Because he couldn't win it anywhere else. I'm the Iowan that I mentioned.
No,
I fought against that.
Well, maybe for the title we'll go with we'll come with something else. But anyway, Well, we should probably move forward here. Jeff, anything else you want to say to the world of the pandemic?
Mostly just I want to say that a personal philosophy that I have is that every science fiction or fantasy, however you want to view it, they each come. I think again, my studies have been in history, but my passion has been with science fiction, fantasy, and so forth, and above all, science fiction. And I really do appreciate how different things come along. But keep in mind that as much as something popular might be, they come along at a particular time, and they're popular at a particular time because of what's going on in its society. To go along with, if I were to go back to school and do a thesis, it would be a comparative analysis between Doctor Who, Star Trek, and Star Wars in their particular time periods when they came out and what they reflect on the society at large. What I mean by that is that Doctor Who came out in the 60s.
Yeah.
So Doctor Who is very much a paternalistic figure. He is reflective of an imperial society that is no longer, that lost their empire.
Right.
He is the guy going about through time and space to correct different things. It's almost like there was that TV show in the 80s where they had the pocket watch where they would jump to a time period and it'd be red when they get there, correct something, be green, and they can jump out. Not Quantum Leap. So as you can see, it's the same idea of correcting things in the past. But Doctor Who is that. He is a representative of in real life of an empire that lost its empire. And within a very few years, you have Star Trek coming out. And Star Trek was a reflection of American societies, of optimistic in that beginning part of the Cold War, of how do we set ourselves apart from the communists? We are all-inclusive. In the future, we, the United States, are going to win. We're going to be more inclusive. We're going to have true equality. Things that were, the vision of one particular, of an author, but it's still... it got airtime because it also came about during the time of the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
And then later on, you bring in the Star Wars time period, and that's where things were, the 70s is more kind of, I don't know, a little bit more, even though we think of the 60s as being free flowing, 70s was a little bit more that way when it came to movies. The 70s was almost not as known for its movies.
Well, you had the blaxploitation movies, you had the kung fu movies. I mean, that's where all those come from.
They did a little bit more experimentation.
More horror movies.
Yeah. Well, I guess return to slasher movies.
Yeah. Yep. Night of the Living Dead, Return of the Living Dead. I think the first one was in the 60s, but
I would say that we were, Star Wars came out in the late 70s, and I don't think it's any coincidence that in the late 70s we have Luke Skywalker being this white knight, literally, fighting against stormtroopers. And then within a couple of years, we have Reagan elected. And not to get political, but just the whole idea of we are absolutely right compared to we're striving for something in the 60s.
Well, politics is just down the road from culture.
Yeah,
it always is. But I get your point. Yeah. I mean, anyway, keep going with your analogy. That's interesting.
Well, that's pretty much it. And so I'd say that bringing it more forward, I would say that the reflection of seeing what Star Trek and Star Wars have done most recently in terms of movies, and in some cases TV shows. I'm thinking of Mandalorian as an example. We're not doing original. We're doing rehashes of things.
You're right.
I think that our cultural perspective right now, not necessarily political, but just that we have in the past, we had less accessibility to new things. You had to really search for it. We grew up in that time period where the comics would have been that idea, or that place to get new ideas, or people that you spoke with, or a few video games. Nowadays, it's just put on YouTube. Yeah,
and Facebook.
Yeah, and go with what's safe. So that's my conclusion. Is my ending thoughts would be: I always look for something new in sci-fi. I'm looking forward to Foundation, or It's not new, but I hope that Dune does really well. It's the first movie I'm going to pay to see. We've already talked about it. We're going to get a babysitter for that little one. We've named when we decided on that soundbar system we just got last week.
Uh-huh.
Like it has it's Wi-Fi. What are we going to name it? Moadib.
Well, let me know, because I work at the theater in Ankeny, a little bit. So I was supposed to actually work today for a little, but then my ankle kind of hindered that, spraining my ankle and barely being able to walk, which makes it really hard to wait tables or bartend. So, but yes, I will be going to see Dune the very first chance I get. I'll actually go to the advanced screening, and then I'll take a half a day off of work to. So let me know, and if I can take a guest, I'll definitely keep you in mind.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, man. But I forgot all about Dune, man. We will. I will have to do something for Dune coming up. I'll put my thinking cap on, which happens to be this one right now.
I don't have my top hat. I usually have a top hat. It's upstairs.
Yep. All right. Well, so just any shout outs? Anybody want to give a quick shout out to? Wife, kid?
Just as you mentioned that to my wife, who, if you ever want to have a different, one of the things that we got together with was about sci-fi. Listening to a female perspective about sci-fi, things like, we need some eye candy too, god damn it.
I'm right.
It was really, that was one of the things we first bonded with. So hey, if you ever want a different another possible guest,
absolutely,
if you want a female perspective, I would throw out her name. I realize that my name on Zoom right now is hers.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm not going to put it on YouTube. I put the first couple episodes out there on YouTube, and then a lot of the guests that I had, they didn't want me to, and
okay.
Yeah, so I stopped putting everything out on YouTube. I do have plans for the next phases of the pandemic. I'm gonna start putting out once I got a little more figuring to do. I'm gonna start. I got something coming out soon called the Pandemic 5, which is gonna be a 5-minute review of a comic book movie or whatever. And I'm gonna do it in a very different way. And then I want to do something on Twitch, but the Twitch thing might end up being on YouTube. So I got some plans. I just need more time in the day to do it, so I can work and take care of my kids and everything like that and do it. But the Pandemic 5 is definitely coming up. I'm also and actually I was actually going to talk to you about being a part of this as well. I have an idea for this would be for YouTube. And it would be called the superheroes or superhuman support group, where we would each take on a persona. You get to create your own persona, and then every week we would be doing a support group for your character who has a superhuman ability, like a mutant ability or something like that. And then we talk about it and like how you're feeling and everything like that. And that is in the very, very early stages. I'm right now, I'm just trying to get like 3 or 4 people to do it with every week. So, and then have that as a rotating cast. I thought about doing the Pandemic with more than one person at a time, but I really like this as intimate one-on-one, with people, because it's just fun. If we get to the main topic, we get to the main topic, we always scratch at least a little bit. But yeah, so I got some cool stuff I got in the works. I think you could definitely come up with a cool little persona. My persona, which will be somebody who can see the history of the items that he touches. So he doesn't want to connect with a lot of people. So he's kind of dissociated himself. So the support group.
I'm thinking Dead Zone right away.
That's where, I got a little bit from that. Yeah, that's how
back
that's
instead
the
of
guy.
forward.
Right. So, but yeah, so he will inadvertently he could like hold up a notepad, and all of a sudden if he concentrates, he can see any person that has written on a note or anything like that. So I figured that'd be a really cool like superhuman ability.
Is the notepad one thing, or is it each piece of paper?
The answer to that would be yes.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, I think you'd be pretty good at that.
Oh, thank
If
you.
you're interested, let me know. I'm still workshopping it, and then me and a past guest, Brian Dennis, who the three of us all work together,
Mhm.
and him and I are starting a new podcast. We name is going to be Prevenge of the Nerds. And
Why do you already said my thing about prequels, man?
well, this is our spin. Well, you'll see what I'll leave it at there because it's not a complete thought yet. But so we got a lot of cool stuff coming up with the pandemic. I'm definitely trying to get this to come up, come out a little bit more. So, but got some good stuff coming. Speaking of, give me a 5-star review, and then I'll read the review on the episode. I'm everywhere you can find podcasts like Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can join the Fandemic group on Facebook. I don't have anybody on there yet. Yep. So if you find value in my content that I'm producing, please consider supporting the show. Maybe you will be the next guest, like Jeff here. How can you support the show, you ask? Well, let me tell you. You go to buymeacoffee.com/thefandemic or www.patreon.com/fandemic. Once I get some people on there, I'll start putting some episodes on there as well. Other than that, Jeff, thank you so very much. This was a blast. It had been so long since we've really caught up at all. So thanks for catching up. You're welcome for leveling up your awesomeness. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, here, get this. So what should we name this episode?